Andretti has made it quite apparent in recent months that they intend to join the Formula One grid. However, it was agreed among the teams that Andretti should make certain that its entry did not impose a financial burden on the current teams. Andretti bought on GM to make sure they would fit the criteria, but even then, they received negative feedback. So now, Andretti has chosen the hard way and has called out the teams for their wrongdoing, which of course resulted in a feud with some of the other team bosses, such as Toto Wolff and Christian Horner, as they believe that bringing on Andretti would cost them more money. Toto Wolff, Mercedes team principal, stated earlier this year, "When a team comes in, how can you make sure you're bringing in more money than it's going to cost?" Christian Horner, CEO of Red Bull, reiterated these sentiments. "The money will be an important factor in the end. It would be unfair to make other teams pay indirectly for the extra newcomers. That's always a conflict you're going to have." However, previous to their most recent development, which sees them participating in the FIA's expression of interest alongside automotive manufacturer Cadillac, Michael Andretti believed that the snobbish attitudes of F1 teams could be a hurdle to admission. Andretti told GQ earlier this year about his racing experience in 1997 and how perceptions about the US attempts haven't changed. "It was a definite European club," he said. "And I'm getting the feeling it's still the European club, the way we're being treated, because we would be a threat, the first real international team. It's a very snobbish approach they're taking. Ultimately, we're going to bring more value than we're going to take away." Fast forward to the beginning of 2023, and Andretti announces a partnership with General Motors, the world's largest manufacturer. Andretti believes that the other established teams should no longer be skeptical of his ability to provide value to Formula One. "We, Andretti and GM, have been talking to each other for about 4 or 5 months now," Michael Andretti told media. One of the big things was, well, what is Andretti bringing to the party? "Well, we're bringing one of the biggest manufacturers in the world with us, with General Motors and Cadillac. We feel that was the one box that we didn't have checked, and I think we'll be bringing a tremendous amount of support for F1. I believe 1000% that we can be on the grid. I believe that we've checked every box that needs to be checked to be able to enter F1, and we feel like we're ahead of our competition to get there." And so, Michael Andretti has taken a strong stance against Formula One teams. In an interview with Forbes, the American has little positive to say about the clubs who are allegedly preventing him from entering the sport. Andretti established a deal with General Motors and Cadillac in early January in a bid to establish a Formula One squad. Despite FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem's online and in-person support for the team, the reaction from Formula One was simply chilly. Only Alpine and McLaren publicly supported Andretti. Although the teams have no official influence in who joins and who does not, Formula One appears to want to promote the present teams and is thus opposed to Andretti's admission. In 2021, the so-called Concord Agreement required new Formula One entrants to contribute $200 million to compensate for lost profits for existing teams. While Andretti can probably provide that amount, the team's opposition remains. "It's all about money," Andretti states. First, they think they're going to get diluted 1/10 of their prize money. But they also get very greedy, thinking we'll take all the American sponsors as well. It's all about greed and looking at themselves and not looking at what is best for the overall growth of the series. So while the team owners and Formula One remain obstacles to Andretti's participation, he does have a formidable ally on his side in Ben Sulayem. The FIA president stated earlier this week that there is ample capacity on the grid for more teams. "That is the difference between President Mohammed's position and the team owner's position," Andretti explained. "In Formula One, the owners look out for themselves, not what is best for the series. President Mohammed is looking out for the future of the sport. Mohammed gets it. He's a racer and he understands the series needs to have 1 or 2 more teams." Even though other teams don't like it, Michael Andretti has his sights set on Formula One and will not be deterred by the rivalry he faces from other teams. The objective is to contend for the world title within 6 seasons once he has a squad on the grid. Andretti does not like the attitude of the existing F1 teams and says he only feels supported by McLaren, Alpine and FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem. "Zach wants to do whatever he can to help us get there, and so is Alpine as well. Zach Brown and Alpine are 2 very good allies," the American said in conversation with Forbes. But Andretti is still optimistic about his chances in Formula One. The owner of Andretti Autosport claims that it fits all of the requirements. but that the only thing missing until recently was OEM support. General Motors and Cadillac have joined the possible new F1 team. They're going to bring a lot to the party to help us get a race car on track. We're very bullish at this moment, Andretti continued. Simultaneously, he recognizes that there is still a long way to go, but he is willing to go through whatever procedure is required. The main challenge appears to be the other teams, who are not waiting for a new constructor. According to Andretti, the FOM and the FIA look to be diametrically opposed in this area, while Stefano Domenicali replied warmly to the collaboration with Cadillac. "We are coming in a serious way," says Andretti. Stefano was very happy when he brought up the name Cadillac. The former McLaren driver continues. Andretti believes that the inclusion of names like Cadillac and General Motors will be a positive development for F1, given the sport's popularity in the United States is growing rapidly. Despite the objections, Andretti is adamant about putting a team on the F1 grid. "We're coming in a serious way," he sounds warning. "It will take a long time to get there, but eventually we want to be one of the top teams in Formula 1. Our end goal is to be competing for the World Championship 5 or 6 years down the road. And if it's up to the FIA's president, we will see Andretti Cadillac joining the grid in upcoming years." The FIA's president Mohammed Ben Sulayem has sent a message to Formula 1 teams on their stance towards new teams. According to the media, Ben Sulayem reiterated his desire to see more teams on the grid. The news of Andretti's association with Cadillac to launch a new Formula 1 team seemed unlikely to receive the warm welcome that Andretti had hoped for. According to reports, only McLaren and probable engine supplier Alpine are open to Andretti joining, with the other teams and Formula 1 as a whole still opposing Andretti's attempts. Furthermore, billionaire Calvin Lowe and Panthera Team Asia have also indicated that they are actively seeking for methods to join the sport, putting Andretti in direct competition. Surprisingly, the FIA and Formula 1 have not presented a cohesive face throughout this entire saga. On the contrary, FIA President Ben Sulayem appears to be actively speaking out against the obstructive teams and organization's attitude. He expressed disappointment at the lack of enthusiasm earlier on Twitter. Then, at a news conference at the Dakar Rally, he doubled down on his own opinion. "In general, if we look at the sustainability of Formula 1, we have to open it up to other brands. We can have a maximum of 12 teams on the grid," assured the FIA president. "Having a company like General Motors, one of the 5 biggest manufacturers in the world, we have to encourage them in their interest to reach the top class. That's what I would like the future to look like." Then on the other side, we have the Andretti team. There is a process. We have to wait and see if they manage to succeed and be on the grid. A new manufacturer will help make Formula 1 better, and I see no reason why we shouldn't welcome new teams, especially the Americans. "We already have 3 races there this year," Ben Sulayem continued. "We welcome any proposal to be one of the 12 teams. We accept good teams, even if they are small, as was the case with Haas. We hope things change and that we can have a real 11th team. We'll see what happens." What do you think? Do you want to see more teams on the grid? If so, which teams would you like to see? And would F1 become a better sport if there are more cars on the grid? After all, there is a lot of talent waiting to finally obtain a seat. So could having 24 cars on the grid be a good solution for this? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.